Thank you for clicking on the provocative headline. This video is not meant to pull the rug from under you. I used it to beg the question, what if? What if there was a different version of reality where sharper, more mature minds were in charge at Firaxis? What if Civ VII had been cancelled? Let me explain. Before I dedicated the lion's share of my gaming to Civ, there were other games that vied for my attention. One of them was Sports Interactive's Football Manager. I played a lot of it back in about 2009 or 2010. I don't remember exactly which version, and to be honest, I haven't paid much attention to Football Manager in a decade. But I came across a video recently of an interview with the company's studio director, Miles Jacobson, explaining why Football Manager 25 ended up being cancelled. It's a short interview, and I will leave a link to it in the description. I don't know if there's a Venn diagram illustrating the type of person with a Civ Football Manager crossover, and perhaps I'm alone, but when I watched this interview, it made me think of what we were given with the launch of Civ VII. Listening to Jacobson's explanation for the cancellation of the game, I imagined an alternate universe where someone else was in charge of Sports Interactive and this man was in charge at Firaxis. What a different story we could be telling about Civ VII. This channel is all about alternatives to history, so for this video, let's take a moment to consider why, according to Jacobson, FM25 was cancelled and why it's important to Civ VII. Welcome to Civilization Stories, where we tell alternatives to history through the lens of the world's most addictive video game. First, I need to point out what should be obvious differences between Civ and Football Manager as video games. The first is that they represent video games from different genres. Although both can be considered strategy games, Civ is firmly entrenched as the standard bearer of the 4X genre, while Football Manager could arguably be said to be the same, but of the sports management simulation genre. How this affects each game is in how they are released. A major title for the Civilization franchise only releases every 6 to 10 years, while amongst fans of the Football Manager franchise, there is an expected release every year. And until Football Manager 25, Sports Interactive had delivered on that expectation every year since 2005. However, what I feel is even more important to consider is the similarity between the two games when it comes to that very important word, expectation. Although fans of the Civilization franchise do not expect a new game every year, like fans of the Football Manager franchise, each player base comes to each new version of the game with certain expectations. Players of Football Manager expect to load a new game and instantly become the manager of the team of their choice. They expect to navigate the transfer market to build the strongest squad the resources offered by the board of directors will allow. They expect to hire a staff that will train the players effectively so they can grow into a championship-winning side. And they expect to manage the personalities of all these people in their forms of ones and zeros using dialogue boxes when they give team talks and address the press before and after games. The formula is set. Players know what they are going to get, but every year they get a new game with updated graphics and better engines that allow the developers to build out the mechanics to be more robust and updated to the present. Players of Football Manager do not expect to suddenly turn into Ted Lasso and manage a college American football team one season and then a Premier League European football club the next. It's a great idea for a TV show, but a terrible idea for a video game. Managing the expectations of the players of a video game with histories as long and rich as Football Manager and Civilization is the key responsibility of game developers. A good studio director like Jacobson understands this. Listen to what he says.
The reason for the cancellation was really simple, which is I wasn't happy with the quality of the game. I was about 2 hours into playing it when I just said to myself, this isn't good enough, we can't do this. This isn't to our normal quality level. But the TLDR version is I wasn't happy with the quality of the game, and I wasn't prepared for people to be going out and spending their hard-earned money on something that wasn't good enough. If we'd released FM25 in the state that it was in, it wouldn't have been good value for money, and it would have damaged us forever.
Now, I don't know the man, but it seems clear to me that Jacobson plays his own video game. The ability to look at something you were responsible for building and saying to yourself, it's not good enough, is not easy and takes a level of maturity that few of us possess. I know for myself, as I engage in numerous creative endeavors, that every time I play a new tune on the guitar, I think to myself that there's the next big hit. but I'm still waiting on that record contract. The truth is, none of us are quite as sharp and brilliant as we think we are. In fact, we kind of live in a time where an entire generation has been groomed into believing that it's normal to share every thought and feeling they have, and that growth, or admitting that you thought one way once upon a time and think differently now, is some kind of defect. Instead, most of us would rather play mental gymnastics and reframe reality in such a way as to not have to admit that we were ever wrong. We suppress cognitive dissonance in a way to suggest that we were correct about things then, it's just that we're even more correct about them now. This brings me to the recent messaging out of Firaxis and its parent company, Take-Two, that their projections for Civ VII are consistent with their expectations. Only slightly more recently, they confirmed a series of layoffs of individuals involved in the development of Civ VII, while citing the reasons as studio restructuring and optimization of its development process. Here again is cognitive dissonance.
Good manager doesn't fire people, he hires people and inspires people. And people will never go out of business.
Civ VII is a deeply flawed game that flies in the face of players' expectations. If developers' key responsibility was to manage the expectation of players that comprise the core of their fan base, they failed mightily. Civ players were sitting patiently, waiting for the release of a new immersive experience that drew on the history of its predecessors and updated it for 2025. They expected to load up a game and instantly become the leader of the civilization of their choice. They expected to manage resources so they can grow their cities and supply their armies to venture out and discover and conquer new lands. They expected to navigate the tech tree and political intricacies within the confines of their environment to build an empire to stand the test of time. So, besides not being good enough in the mind of the studio director, what did he, Miles Jacobson, cite as the reason for his and the studio's decision not to release FM25?
We'd made too many changes to the UI. We tried to be too clever with what we were doing.
Some folks do love Civ 7 just as it is, and that's fine. One of the arguments they make as to why Civ 7 is so good is that the studio deserves credit for trying something new. I'm not against trying new things. What I am against is studio developers who do not play and love their own game, who acquiesce to the complaints of players who don't enjoy the game, and who second-guess the tried and trusted aspects of their game when a competitor aims to take the genre in a new direction. I'm also not a fan of players paying to be playtesters. Civilizations may be built in layers, but the ones that stand the test of time trust the foundation upon which they were built. New traditions grow out of the old. They aren't overbuilt and replaced. So when developers played this game and should have realized that it just wasn't good enough and that they had tried to be clever, they should have had the good sense, like Jacobson, to delay the game's release. It never needed to be cancelled because Civ players don't expect a new game every year. I take no pleasure in knowing that those who put their time and energy into making Civ 7 have been let go, even though something tells me that they'll be fine. People never go out of business, and the video game industry isn't going anywhere. Those most responsible for the pitiable state in which Civ 7 currently finds itself are most likely the ones doing the firing, and will never likely be held accountable for greenlighting more than a few clever but bad ideas. Take-Two and Firaxis are huge companies. Shareholders will get their return. Believe that. I hope that those facing their career transition learn something valuable from the experience and continue to grow in their field. I don't blame you. And trust me, something better is usually waiting around the next corner. I believe that too. And I believe it for the Civilization franchise. I'm always an optimist. A video game with such a rich history upon which to draw cannot stay down for too long. Civilizations rise and fall, and someone will come along to resurrect this now ailing franchise. There are competent and mature minds out there. Just look at Miles Jacobson. So, if you're still working at Firaxis and have a say when it comes to the direction of the Civilization franchise, look at this interview with Miles Jacobson and give it due consideration. Canceling or delaying a game's release is not the kind of thing that pleases fans. It upsets them, especially if there's no good explanation. A lot of the vitriol that fans can muster is unwarranted. No one deserves to be personally attacked. But developers now have the responsibility of stewarding the greatest 4X game into the future with expectations at a new low. Realizing and admitting that may not please fans, but it takes greater strength than denial. Gamers have short attention spans and are quick to hand over their money, which is how they show forgiveness. It's coming up on 20 years old now, so maybe some of you involved in making Civ 7 don't know about the speech from this movie. Instead of butcher it myself, I'm going to leave you with the clip. I hope you keep moving forward.
Somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you wanna be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
Thanks for watching, and remember to keep playing and making your own civilization story, your own amazing path through history, and I'll see you next time.